Good evening and thank you for joining us. A candlelight vigil was held in Nipigon last night to honor the late Alyssa Turnbull. The 26-year-old's remains were finally recovered by police last month after years of searching. Turnbull was last seen in Nipigon in March of 2020. The main suspect connected to her death is now deceased. Two other Nipigon men, Brian and Nick Sues, admitted to interfering with her remains. On Friday, a court decided that they wouldn't have to serve any additional jail time after they struck a plea deal that led OPP to Turnbull's body in Kaministiquia. For most of the past 3.5 years, the search was centered around Nipigon. The vigil in that community last night included Anishinaabe songs and a healing circle. Organizers say about 45 people gathered to pay their respects, and they say that was heartwarming to see on a cold evening.
I believe Nipigon was devastated for the last 3 years, 7 months. And, for this to happen, I believe there's closure for family and for us.
There's been a black cloud over this town. I mean, obviously it's lessened a little bit as time has gone on. But this kind of thing doesn't happen in a small town. You hear it a lot when you're on TV and stuff, but when it does actually happen in your small town, it's very disturbing and shocking.
And Nipigon Mayor Suzanne Kuko notes that small towns like Nipigon do have a dark side, and addressing issues like crime and drug abuse needs to be a top priority. In a written statement, Turnbull's family expressed gratitude for the heartfelt condolences they've received, but they're now asking people to respect their privacy due to the pain that they say will, quote, likely take more than a lifetime to heal from, if that is even possible. Turning to municipal politics, it should be an eventful evening at Thunder Bay City Hall tonight with a number of significant items up for debate. Councillors will discuss financing for the proposed indoor turf facility. They'll also decide whether or not to accept the Integrity Commissioner's recommendation to suspend Councillor Rajni Agarwal's pay for 30 days. That recommendation comes from a confrontation in June between Agarwal and homeowners carrying out work on their property, during which the councillor gave the middle finger. Agarwal says she was angry because the sidewalk was blocked, forcing a disabled woman to walk on the street. The report found Agarwal displayed, quote, abrasive and harassing behavior. As for financing the proposed turf facility next to the community auditorium, the estimated price tag is now more than $44 million. Council will discuss how that will be funded. The Ontario government is partnering with Bigtigong Anishinaabe, to protect caribou in this region. Environment and Conservation Minister Andrea Kangin was at Sleeping Giant Provincial Park this morning. She announced nearly $1 million to support an initiative near Pick River to help revive the species. Jessa Clement has the details.
Efforts to conserve and recover the boreal caribou population in the northwest continues. On Monday, Ontario's Environment Minister Andrea Kangin was at Sleeping Giant Provincial Park to announce a partnership between the province and the First Nation near Marathon.
The Ontario government has finalized an agreement with Bigtigong Anishinaabe First Nation, investing nearly $1 million to support a multi-year initiative to recover the local boreal caribou population.
The project will be led by Bigtigong Anishinaabe, formerly known as Pick River First Nation, who will work in collaboration with environmental and wildlife experts, the federal government, First Nations, and private sector partners to establish a self-sustaining population of boreal caribou along Lake Superior. Kangin noted that the investment will help study predatory animals of the caribou, as well as other environmental factors.
It's not just monitoring the caribou and being able to survey how many caribou we have. Is our strategy or is our plan working to restore the population? But also look at other factors. Ice, for example, too. Whenever we know in terms of climate change, if ice is going to thaw or freeze over, that impacts the movement of our predators. Wolves, for example, as we've heard in the past, but also other predators as well. So all of that combined will help us on this particular agreement and strategy.
This partnership project is funded by the Caribou Conservation Stewardship Program, which is part of a $29 million funding announcement made in Thunder Bay back in March by former Environment and Conservation Minister David Piccini. Bigtigong Chief Duncan Michano says this recent investment is a great opportunity.
You need to hire people to do it. You need to buy resources. You need to travel. So you need money to do these things. And this allows us to put a plan in place and work together with MECP, work together with other Anishinaabe communities to try to make sure that the caribou don't disappear.
Michano adds that raising awareness is also crucial to the boreal caribou's population.
There's people around who have no idea that caribou even existed in our landscape, prior to them being born. People of Canada and Ontario need to understand the importance of making sure that caribou don't disappear.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
After nearly 9 years as president and CEO of the Thunder Bay International Airport, Ed Schmidtke is retiring effective March 1st of next year. Schmidtke has been involved in a lot of changes at the airport since he began his career there in the late 1980s, like constructing the new terminal building, rebuilding both runways, opening new commercial subdivisions, and more. He also helped mitigate the effects of the pandemic. Board Chair Gary Woodbeck says Schmidtke will be hard to replace, but he notes he's left them in great hands.
It'll be hard to find anybody with Ed's experience, but he's left us in a position that no major work has to be done at the airport in the next few years. So it's good timing for Ed. He's put in a lot of years at the airport, and he deserves a good retirement.
The search now gets underway for a new CEO. Woodbeck says they hope to hire someone from Thunder Bay, but will accept applications from across the country. A replacement is expected to be found in the next few months. Some good news is coming for kidney patients in the Dryden area. Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford announced today that the Dryden Regional Health Centre has been approved as a new satellite location for dialysis treatment, which is life-saving care for those suffering from kidney failure. Those patients will no longer have to travel 4 hours to Thunder Bay. Josh Morano reports.
Since 2019, the hospital in Dryden has been working to get a dialysis treatment center. With renal services in Sioux Lookout, Kenora, Fort Francis, all at maximum capacity, Dryden patients are usually forced to travel to Thunder Bay for treatment. Dialysis requires patients to attend the regional hospital 3 times in a 7-day span. MPP Greg Rickford made the announcement at a virtual news conference along with officials from DRHC and Thunder Bay Regional.
We understand that patients in the Dryden area in particular need convenient care, drive up to 4 hours multiple times a week to receive dialysis treatment in other communities. We're very grateful for the support that we get from other communities. We're so proud to deliver on this initiative. It's a reflection of the city of Dryden, its community, its resilience.
The next steps are renovations and design planning for the 4 dialysis chairs that will be installed at the Dryden Hospital. Rickford says a 1,000 square foot renovation will make room within the facility, with more chairs planned down the road. Dryden Regional Health Center President Doreen Armstrong-Ross is hoping for a fast-moving project, but she doesn't know how long it will take until patients can receive renal care.
There's a lot to be done, as you know, in these projects, so we'll have a better feel for that in a while, but we understand the need and certainly want to get this done.
The project is tracking for the next couple of years. As I said, closer to the lower end of what constitutes a couple of years.
The move also affects those in places where the dialysis treatment centers are at capacity. Thunder Bay Regional Executive Vice President Adam Vinette says it's not just important for Dryden residents to have the service closer to home, but it also opens up space at other dialysis locations in northwestern Ontario.
Our regional capacity is nearing 100% in Kenora, Sioux Lookout, and Fort Francis. So the beds in Dryden are a welcome piece. Thunder Bay's capacity is around 90% at current moment, with long wait lists in our regional area. So this is great news and a great opportunity for us to have care closer to home.
Rickford was hesitant to disclose an exact dollar figure for the cost of the project, but says it's in the several $million range and expects the number to evolve as the project continues. Josh Morano, TBT News.
Ontario will soon make it mandatory for employers to disclose wages or at least a salary range on job postings. The proposal is part of new legislation to be tabled next week that's meant to increase job transparency. Alison Hurst has the details.
The province is planning to table legislation that could impact a person's job search. The new regulations would make it mandatory for employers to disclose wages or salary ranges.
I think it's great. I think, especially in Toronto, it's so expensive to live here. And I always think about salaries, especially with taxes, and you think about the 40% or however much it is. So it's a major consideration for me.
We're just in a generation where transparency is key, and if someone is trying to utilize their skill set to apply for a new job or find a new opportunity, they need to know that taking that step, taking that risk of working for a new employer will be well compensated, and it would be worth their effort to seek that new opportunity.
The proposal is part of new legislation meant to increase transparency for job seekers.
I think it's nice to have transparency around the wages, and so I can go in with an open mind and expectation as to what I could get for that job. I think ultimately it's better for employees.
When workers' salaries are kept secret, there's only one beneficiary, and that's businesses.
The Labour Minister says the details need to be worked out, which includes requirements on the salary range, and hinted it would start with jobs that pay less than $100,000 a year.
It's working class workers who don't earn six-figure salaries. They want to know what those ranges are as they take that exciting next step to apply for a job, to get a better job and a bigger paycheck.
Ontario isn't the only province seeking this legislation. BC is also set to require wages or salary ranges be disclosed on job postings.
Alison Hurst, CTV News.
The province is also considering banning the use of non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs, in cases of workplace sexual harassment, misconduct, or violence. The Labour Minister says non-disclosure agreements should never be used to silence victims or sidestep accountability. The province previously banned the use of NDAs in sexual misconduct cases among post-secondary employees who are looking for work at a different institution. Fort William Historical Park is celebrating 50 years of bringing history to life. The fort is now chronicling that history with an art exhibit at the Thunder Bay Museum. It's called Fur Trade Fort William, a chronology through art, 1805 to 1882. It was curated by the fort's collections team leader, Sean Patterson, and includes 45 works of art by 18 different period artists. The exhibit captures the story of Fort William through the 1800s. Patterson hopes it's not only informative, but enjoyable for museum guests as well.
As you go through, you'll see how the fort evolves architecturally, how it changes, how the Ojibwe community across the way grows larger, architecturally more significant. And then the last couple of paintings, the very last painting is an oil painting that was actually done by a fort staff member in 1883, and that is a lovely aerial of the reconstructed Fort William as it stands today.
I'm not originally from Northwestern Ontario, so seeing a lot of this artwork depicting the natural environment and also the patterns of settlement, the ways in which Indigenous peoples lived at the time when the fort was there, it's all really fascinating to see and to learn more about.
The exhibit can be seen at the Thunder Bay Museum until the end of March. Some big news today for area country music fans. The lineup has been announced for next summer's 3rd annual Country on the Bay Music Festival at Fort William Historical Park, and organizers have landed one of the biggest names in country music. Blake Shelton has 28 #1 hits on the country music charts over the past 2 decades. The Oklahoma singer, of course, is also well known as a judge on the televised singing competition The Voice. Another headliner is Canadian rocker turned country star Dallas Smith. The lineup also features Medicine Hat singer-songwriter Mackenzie Porter, who's earned 4 #1 hits herself on the Canadian country charts. Last year's Country on the Bay attracted about 5,000 people to the fort each day, and organizers promised to make it even bigger in 2024. The next edition of the 3-day concert is scheduled for July 19th to the 21st. Tickets go on sale this Friday. A local teenager's CPR training helped her save her father's life after he went into cardiac arrest in their home. Now, almost 3 months later, Madeline Kaza was presented with an ACT Rescuer Award in recognition of her heroics. Jessica Clement has the story.
15-year-old Madeline Kaza didn't think she'd have to use her CPR training so early in life, but she quickly jumped into action after her father, Michelle Kaza, suffered a sudden cardiac arrest in their home early one August morning.
I had woken up at it was like 6 a.m. to my brother yelling, "Madeline, like wake up, Dad's not breathing." So I walked in and the light was already turned on, 911 was called, and the 911 operator was like, "You guys need to start CPR."
Madeline and her 13-year-old brother Luke then placed their father on the floor, and their mother Claire started performing CPR. Madeline says thanks to her training, she realized it wasn't being done properly and took over until firefighters arrived.
I just was like, I need to do this because she's not doing it right. And then I just I don't remember like thinking like, it just kind of just came to me. It just felt like a natural instinct, and I didn't even like think twice.
Michelle was taken to the regional hospital where he was able to recover and says he found out a couple days later that it was his daughter who saved him.
And I'm very, very grateful that she was able to do that, and I can't imagine, giving CPR to someone that you love, and just what would have been going on in her mind as she was doing that, and it's really unbelievable.
Madeline learned CPR training in grade 9 through the Advanced Coronary Treatment High School CPR and AED program, which is set up in 6 schools in Thunder Bay and the surrounding communities. Earlier this week, the Foundation and Hydro One presented Madeline with the ACT Rescuer Award in recognition for her quick thinking and use of life-saving CPR.
I think it's good that it's being recognized that CPR is an important skill that we should all know.
I think that's an amazing program the ACT Foundation offers, and a cousin of mine actually from Southern Ontario, I'd posted on Facebook, and she read the story, and she was saying she's contacted her board where her children go to school, and just to see if they offer the program, and if they don't, that they should, because it saves lives. It really does.
Jessica Clement, TVT News.
Well, congratulations there to Madeline.